Let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me a bit of her love. Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to another one, man. It's your boy, Rod One, and this is Sparking Conversation, and y'all know what I do each and every week. I get up here and I talk to some of the world's most interesting people, and tonight I'm going to do the same thing. But before we do that, y'all know I got to give my thanks to all the people that download the audio version of this platform. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all so much. Start every show with giving y'all props, because I understand that in this podcast game, this is the most important part is your audio. So what the guests want to listen to and what the people out there want to hear. So I'm thankful that you guys, decide to download the conversation that I have with my guests on here and hear what we're talking about. So y'all get the VIP treatment each and every week. I always got to make sure I give y'all thanks. So thank y'all. All right. So y'all know I got my guest tonight. So before we get into that, y'all know we got to give y'all what's going down for the week. So for all of y'all that's been already RSVPing to We Don't Wait, We Create, I appreciate y'all too getting in early. We got Vincent Ward from The Walking Dead will be in the building, chopping it up with all the inspiring actors, actresses, anybody in the business. I'm talking about from filmmaking to writing to script writers to people who just got the equipment and they want to be behind the camera the whole nine. But he will be in the building. On top of that, I have other people who are going to be there, right? So I want all of y'all to know that everybody that's already RSVPing and getting your tickets early, that this is more than just a networking event, right? My goal for creating We Don't Wait, We Create is to get like-minded people together, right? Because in this game, or whatever you want to call this life that we live, it's very hard for people to figure out how to just be themselves. And they have so many other things that come in the way with life and just different things that stop people from just achieving or trying to reach those things that they always had inside of them. I try to equate whatever that vision is that you have over your life, that if you can go to work every day or do whatever you do each and every day that makes another person successful, then how much so can you do that for yourself? If you just, I don't know, if you just can just believe in yourself enough to understand that the gifts that you were given will sustain you if you focus on that. So many of us give our gifts away to people, places, and things, but we're very seldom do we give it to ourselves, right? So thank you to all the people out there already RSVPing and will be in the building for We Don't Wait, We Create, y'all. I promise y'all it's going to be one of them. Y'all be in the building, okay? Outside of that, y'all know we got a lot of content that's out right now. We have the Ooblifter Part 27 out. Thank y'all for everybody that's been pushing play and supporting all the content that I drop. That's very important that I give y'all thanks, because like I said, you could do all these things in the world that you want to, but very seldom do you get people that recognize your gift and your talent and they let you know. So I appreciate those, because they don't have to do it. Because whether people told me they liked it or not, I probably would still do it because it's something that's in me, right? Not on me. So I appreciate that. All right. So outside of that, let's do this, y'all. We talked about your body, right? And we talked about how people feel. And what I realized is that a lot of people don't understand that the things that they feel inside their body is because of things that they eat, right? So I always tell y'all each and every week to do the research. Make sure y'all go out there and y'all research the effects of parasites in the body and just see if any of these things that you're dealing with sound like it could be that. And if so, y'all know the vibes. I need y'all to go out there, click the link in the description, man. The Parasite Detox is there. Y'all do the research first. Find out if or anything that y'all dealing with, or it just lines up to what happens when you have parasites in the body. And if so, I want y'all to click the link in the description. Go ahead and figure it out and go ahead and get on that, because I'm telling y'all, nobody coming to save us, y'all. All right, we got to save ourselves and health as well. So you got to be able to take that, right? I bet. So outside of that, what do we have going on? Y'all know, I'm gonna go ahead and get into my rant early because I got my guests, and we're gonna chop it up. All right. And I see it's a bunch of people already in the comments. So I appreciate y'all already. We're gonna get to them comments in a minute. But before we do that, I'm gonna get into my rant. All right. So look, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of chatter across the airways for the last few weeks, right? Going down for what happened with my man in South Carolina, the Asian store owner who was acquitted for shooting and killing an unarmed kid, 14-year-old kid, while running away from his store. He chased him down 100 and something yards, him and his son. And they took him out after they accused him of stealing water, and he didn't have no water. He didn't steal none of that. And yeah, he was acquitted. And then we have what's going on today, right? We found out that Carmelo Anthony he was found guilty. Which me personally, I felt like that was going to go down anyway because of we don't have the same luxury in this country that other people do, right? And I'm not saying that in the sense of saying that we're weaker or any of those other things. But I will say this, like for all of us that know our history, for everybody that look like me. Now I'm just saying, like, I don't like to identify as a color. Y'all know that on here because a color gives us no direction. It gives us no connection to lineage, right? It's just color. But what I'm telling y'all is that anybody that look like me, we know better. So the fact that our emotions always take precedence in our lives before logic is crazy to me because at the end of the day, Carmelo Anthony, he could have just scrapped that out. And I'm not saying what nobody should or should not do. I'm just saying in the event of us knowing, right, how the law is set up and how everything is against us, then all of us should be understanding or being aware of how we can't allow our emotions to dictate our actions all the time. We do that in all aspects of life. The way you feel is the way you act, and that's not necessarily how it's supposed to go. I know so many people in domestic violence situations because they act in the way they feel. And it's foul because, emotional intelligence is not something that anyone is born with, right? It's something that we all got to learn each and every day. And for Carmelo Anthony, I'm sorry that it went down for him that way. And I know it's a lot of people who are siding with him just because of the color, because of his color. But no. And I understand that some people are saying, yo, it was self-defense and all that other stuff. I get that. But at the end of the day, then fight. Our ultimate goal should always be willing or be ready to take another life unless your life is threatened. And there was no way in none of the testimony that showed that his life was threatened, even if he was provoked in that sense. It was still come to find out that in Texas, it is legal to carry a knife and all this other stuff. But that still is not the vibe, y'all. The vibe that should be the last resort because of whatever happens to you, not as a threat to people to keep them from doing something to you, and then you're going to prove a point. So we can't be on that same thing. And then, yeah, we know, we see the thing in South Carolina. We see it, y'all. Yes, fam was dead wrong. All the evidence pointed to the fact that he shouldn't have did that to Lil Man, and he still did it, and he still technically got away with it. They went and destroyed the store, but the people went and destroyed the store that he don't own. He sold it back in 2020. Whenever the incident happened, he sold it. So y'all went and destroyed a store that somebody else owned. And now they're collecting insurance money and all this other stuff because, again, emotionally. And I wonder why none of y'all ain't get together as all of y'all that was out there to protest it and do all this vandalism. Why y'all ain't get together and buy the store, buy the gas station, and then y'all could have gave out waters and did everything else y'all wanted to do. But we don't think that way. We so into our emotions that the first thing we want to do is react. And when we react, it's always a sign of physical. And I get it. We've been through so much as a people. But the problem is they've been using the same tactics against us since the beginning. So when are we going to figure out that we have to think our way through this? We can't fight our way through it. We can't march our way through it. We're not going to boycott our way through it because you cats only boycott something for a few minutes and then y'all right back to it. Now y'all talking about boycotting all the Asian stuff and then bam, But how? Because everything in your house is pretty much made in China. So then what you doing? Right? Is it because we don't own anything? Is it because that we don't produce anything? We're just the number one consumers in the world, but we give the world everything. Anything that the world has comes from here. We give them everything, but we don't own nothing that we get. It's crazy. But anyway, I just hope that all of y'all understand that in this life that we live, if our emotions is going to dictate all our actions all the time, then we're always going to get a short end of the stick. It's not until we think and we strategize and we put it together. We don't need another Malcolm X or Martin Luther King for us to understand that. You know what I mean? We don't need to keep marching around and trying to make peaceful protesting is what they want you to do. They want you to gather together and all that other stuff, which is cool. They allow you to do that. But if we're not going to change no laws, they doing all this redistricting and all these other things out here, and y'all not paying attention because what? You mad? Like, listen, there come a point in time, y'all, where we're gonna have to think our way through things. All right, we can't continuously just be mad and be moved based on emotion. So that's enough of that. I'm gonna get my guests up in a minute. Let me get to these comments real quick. Gloria, what's going on? I see you in the building. Black Power, okay. National Black Panther Party of Norfolk, Virginia. I appreciate y'all tapping in. And I remember 2 years ago going up there and meeting y'all at the reparations convention. So I'm definitely thankful that y'all still rocking with me at, and that long, for that long. I definitely appreciate y'all. All right, I need that. All right, Gloria, you know the vibe. The link will be in the description. All right, so you could go ahead and click on that, and after the show, and go ahead and figure that out for yourself. Word. Let's see. That's the hello to you two out there. All right. So look, I'm about to bring my guest up. We're gonna chop it up and get into her world. And I'm excited about having her up here because, a lot of times when people have platforms, very seldom do people share each other's platforms, right? Because for some reason they think they're in competition. But what I like about her is that she's pushing, and the fact that she does a podcast and does radio, I think that's dope too, right? Because for so many people, a podcast show can be a radio show if it works out that way, right? You can always display and play music and do all these other things, but the fact that she's double fisting it, and so to say. And I always like to celebrate women too in business, especially in what we're doing. Although I get it, so many times it goes unnoticed, but I don't care. My goal is not to get noticed by everybody for everything. My goal is to complete my mission and complete my vision. And in that vision, anybody that's a part of it is because they're supposed to. So let's go ahead and bring her on up so we can get into her world real quick. Yo, JOVANNA, what's up?
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely appreciate you tapping in with us. So look, let's do this real quick. If you don't mind, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and tell everybody what you do?
So, my name is Giovanna Surillo is how it's pronounced. I am a coach, a podcaster. I'm a podcast host of All Things Good. That you can find that on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, all the platforms. And then I am a radio host for Soul Before Sunrise on 88.5 FM radio. It airs between 3 to 6 a.m. And where I play neo soul and R&B and old stuff, new stuff. I like to play like underground music, people who are up and coming and stuff like that. So it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's super dope because the radio portion I think is dope too because so many people are in this space now where they feel like they don't need the radio. And
Mm,
so the fact that you're still out there offering, especially independent artists, an opportunity to get their music played, I think that's dope because it's still a business, right? And
right.
artists should always take advantage of any opportunity that they can, to get their music out. So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about you from the beginning. Tell everybody like what made you get into this whole podcasting, visual broadcasting game in the first place.
Honestly, I mean, it's something that I always wanted to do when I was younger. I always wanted to be either like a background dancer, a singer, something like that. I was always like dancing and doing just, I was always in the entertainment. Like I was interested in that. Um, and then along the lines, I did do music for a bit. I don't think many people know that. I used to rap. I was a rapper. Okay. I don't know if anybody knows that about me, but
That's so dope.
I wasn't the best, but I did rap. Okay. So, And then, I went through a journey, as a big spiritual journey where I was connected to certain people. And during that time, I kind of lost my spark. I lost myself. I lost my light, even within the spiritual Christian community. And then I disconnected from that group, I should say. And then I just began to see God for a while. I was like, God, like, what do I do? My identity was based upon these people that I was connected to. So where am I now? What do I do? And then, I sat there and I got a vision. I got a vision of I actually got a vision of me being in a radio, answering questions, talking to people, coaching people. And so I was like, well, obviously I can't be on the radio right now. So let's just start a podcast. And I'm like, God, what are we going to do about the podcast? What is it going to be called? And so I waited, and then I heard All Things Good. I was like, okay, so we're going with that. And so that's how the podcast began. And so I've always been interested in talking. I love people. I love like communicating conversations, having conversations like this. So I felt like it was just aligned for me at that time. So I just went forth with the podcast.
Dope. Yeah, yeah. Yo, that's crazy, man, because your journey and mine is so similar with the, being an artist. And I did a lot in the artist realm though, but I think everything that led me up to here was like one opportunity after the other, because
Hmm.
music led me into being able to do filming because of having to direct your own music videos. And then from there it put me in a space of being able to do ring announcing. So I was able to do a television show off of
Interesting.
the music. So I did a television show that was a local television show. It was a music television show called Big Time TV. So I hosted that for a while. And then from there, it landed me being able to do ring announcing for professional boxing and amateur boxing and MMA
Right.
too. And then from there, then it was like, yo, so that whole spiritual journey you was talking about, I went through that too. I went through a phase of about 4.5, maybe 5 years of thinking that everything that I was doing before then was wrong, right?
Hmm.
But I was looking to try to figure out what that connection was, because I also thought that I had some weird stuff going on with me because of the way spirituality, the way that is connected. They don't tell you um that you can learn that you have certain gifts, and there are things about you that is going to be different from others, that if you try to
Right.
explain, they'll look at you like you're crazy. So I went on that whole search like you, and disconnected for a while too, and had to bring myself back um after disconnecting from that whole. And it was crazy because when you go in and look for God, you be thinking that when you find them that where you thought you was gonna find them at is not where you supposed to be. And that was really crazy to me, because it took me a little while transitioning to realize that he wasn't nowhere in this church situation that I was looking for.
Right.
So how about you? Was that the turning point in your life based on just the spiritual part? Like, did you feel out of line before, or were you feeling convicted once you got into the spiritual space?
So what made me get into the spiritual world, I was a rapper. Well, I was trying to rap. And I started my own promotional women's, like a women's promo team.
Yeah,
So we would go out there and promote clubs and things like that. Something that I put together. I was like, we all look good. Why not do it? Right. That was my
yeah.
mindset. But then, like, while I was doing all of this, something like I just had a void. I just wasn't happy. I mean, I was the life of the party. I was drinking, I was smoking, I was chilling. People were coming to my house, but something along the line, I just felt just so empty and alone. And so so one day I got high. I smoked some weed. I don't know if I could say that
Hmm.
online.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, we lit over here. Yo, we lit over here. Go ahead.
So I smoked some weed with my sister, and I was working from home, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go take a quick shower. I went to go take a quick shower, and all of a sudden, I just heard like a voice, and it was like, "You are going down the wrong path. There's so much more for me.
Mm,
You are created for so much more. If you just
mm.
stop, like where you're going is not it." And this was, and
Right.
I was like, "Huh?" I'm like, I
Mm.
must be high
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because who's speaking to me?
Right now. Yeah.
And then I
Right.
came out the bathroom and I was like, Jazz, her name is my sister's name is Jasmine. I'm like, Jazz, I like, why do we do what we do? Like, we do all these things. And it was just like wisdom was speaking to me and I was listening. And then when I came out, I was speaking to my sister and she was just like, huh? She's still high. So she's like, you on your own, girl. And I'm like, oh my God. So immediately I'm like, I'm going to go to church, went to church, did that for 10 years. And I'm not going to say it was in vain. It was not in vain because I did do a lot of healing. Like I did a lot of inner work. I mean, it was just me and God. I was locked in for real. But even within that, there was a lot of, spiritual abuse, manipulation, control, things like that, where at
Yeah.
first I was elevated, I was lifted up to serve God. And then suddenly it was all about control and being, you know, being almost like a spiritual robot and not being able to have a personality and all these things within the system that I eventually lost myself. And so some things had taken place between me and my friend at that time, who was also my spiritual leader. Um, and, you know, it was just like I began to question things. I'm like, okay, this person's in control, like controlling me. I'm not gonna lie, I had somebody else in my life, a very good friend of mine, who was in my life and was saying, like, this lady's like controlling you. And I'm like, no, sir, I'm blinded right at that time. And then eventually I was just like, okay, something's wrong. Like she has been controlling my life for over 10 years. It was like the veil was lifted, the blinders came off.
Right.
And I was like,
Right.
okay, what the hell have I been doing for 10 years? And that's
Gotcha.
kind of like the story.
Yeah, yo, I understand completely. And I think a lot of people in their story, that's a part that most people won't talk about is their spiritual journey when it comes down to religion though. Cause it's easy for people to talk about church in a way when in a positive way when they're a part of it. But very seldom when people talk about their experiences with church, they automatically get judged as if it was because they didn't get or they didn't have the right mindset going in. And it's like, no, you definitely, the fact that you're looking for God is the right mindset. Nobody
Hmm.
should go to church if they're not looking to figure out what God is in their life. Like just to go to church is just I don't get that. Like after going as much as I did, it was like, yo, nah, this is crazy. I mean, and it could be you know, that thing that we battle with on the inside. Because whatever spoke to you in that shower knew that you would listen, right?
Right.
So that's another thing too, because very seldom do people hear a voice or whatever, even if it's in their voice or not, that they listen to it.
Hmm.
So whenever you decided to get back into the groove of things and you said, yo, we was going to do the podcast, um, how was your podcast journey from the beginning? Because I know for most people, they give up within the first maybe 90 to 120 days because they realize that it takes a lot more to doing a podcast and just showing up doing the show. So where in the fact that I know you said that it came to you, it was like, I'm going to do it, but your journey in starting it, was it a thing where you always had guests or did you start off just, you by yourself?
So originally, I didn't start it right away after that vision. After I was just like, I'm a big overthinker and I like structure. So I'm like, I
Mm,
have to have everything. I had all my notes written out, and I'm just everything is going to be formal, and everything was written down from what I was going to say, and I was overthinking it. And then God was just like, press the record button, please, just press the button.
right,
I didn't have a
right.
mic. I didn't have the best setup, right? And I just keep hearing just press record. And I'm like, okay. So I press record. So originally it was just supposed to be me, speaking on topics of my coaching and things like that, my journey with the things that I went through. And then eventually, people began to reach out to me. I'm sorry, you want to say something?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, no, no. I'm listening. I'm all in.
Okay. And so somebody was gonna people began reaching out to me and wanted to be a guest. And I was like, okay, well then let's just go in this direction. Which I love it. I love having different people on my platform, giving the wisdom, the insight that they have. I mean, I've met some amazing, amazing people. But I do want to get back to me speaking. I'm gonna start a whole nother podcast with it where it's just gonna be me for my coaching and the things that I've been through. So yeah,
Okay.
so that was the original intent. It was supposed to just be me, but then I was like, let's connect with people. Let's get people's voices, their coaching, their business, their stories out here because it's not just about me. And my belief is that we all have a piece of the puzzle. Like I say that with every episode, everyone that comes on has a piece of the puzzle. I don't have all the answers. No one that I know has every answer. I feel like we all have a
Right.
part.
Right. Nah, that's dope. And we do. And that's why I feel like, you know, for people who feel like their life is meant for them to just be by themselves or be alone or try to attack a journey on, solo, it's not meant for us to be that way. We're meant to be around each other, with each other, and, supporting each other in any way that we can, like, I don't know. I think for the most part, when it comes down to these things that we do in the creative space, it do take a lot of self-motivation though, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the thing. You're not going to, we don't get a lot of people coming and saying, yo, that was a good job, it was a good show, go ahead, and you know what I mean? It's not that, and you don't get all the people that really helping and support you because, a like, a share, and a comment is free. But for some reason, people won't jump on it until they see other people jumping on it.
Right.
Then now they want to hit you with that. Oh, I always knew you was going to be this, that, and the third. But yo, you wasn't sharing my shit. Yo, you was wilding. But let's talk so the coaching part. So I noticed that anyone I've had on here, when they come down to them coaching is because they've been through things, right? And they
Mhm.
feel like they have a perspective that will help another person if another person is going through the similar thing as them. So, and I always thought about the coaching thing as a thing where I don't know if it's a natural progression, but I think it has to be a person who has a passion to help people in that way, where they want to, directly hone in with you and whatever you have going on. So the coaching thing, what type of coaching do you do? Is it like life coach, relationship, children? What type of coaching is your specialty?
I would say it's life coach and mental health coach, also emotional subconscious programming coaching. Because of the
Mm,
things that I've been through, I mean, we're all programmed from the very beginning. You know what I mean?
facts.
So we're all programmed to be something that we're not necessarily called to be. Everyone's life is different. Everyone's journey is different. And I think
Right.
when it comes to religion, when it comes to, even the entertainment business, when it comes to the political system, they're always telling us what we should do, who we should be, how we should act, what direction we should take.
Right.
And my goal is to get people to learn to trust themselves again, to listen to their inner voice. So whenever someone comes to me, I'm not telling them this is what you need to do. I'm telling you, well, what does your soul feel like it needs to do at this point in time? And I'm guiding them to
Mm,
trust their inner voice again, to trust the God within them. You see, everyone else would say, well, this is what you need to do. But I'm giving you my perspective. I'm projecting me onto you, and that's incorrect. Everyone's life
right.
is different. Everyone process things differently. And so my goal is to help people to rewire their programming, rewire their mind so that they can begin to trust themselves again and live a life that is authentic to them, not according to what Susan is saying on the next, not according to what your mother is saying, not according to what your pastor is saying, not according to what people believe for you to do, but according to what you want to do. And it's a little
Right.
rebellious to some people, but it is what it is because we're not called to be following the norm.
Nah, that's true. And that's a good perspective to have whenever you allow, turning back to the person, like always remind them of their power, right? Like it's no quick fix to other people, right? But there's a way that you can talk things through and get to that result that you're looking for. Because that's how I feel. I feel like, a lot of times, sometimes if you just say it out loud, some things that are going on inside of you, it will help you get to that next answer that you're looking for versus just overthinking. Because
Right.
that's the power, that's the problem with the overthinker, right? Is because they don't say it out loud, they thinking it.
Mm.
And you know, what we think controls our emotions, and then next thing you know, our actions come after that. A lot of times, you know, I realize that emotional intelligence is something that a person has to desire. Like you have to want that, right? You have to want to be a person that is saying to themselves, like, you know, I got to be able to receive information and be able to, you know, take the meat and spit the bones type of scenario, right?
Right.
Right. And because I understand, like being a coach, you're going to hear other people's problems because even on the podcast, without having the title of a coach, I'm listening to other people's problems. I've had so many different people on. I'm like, this 183rd show. So you can imagine how many different people I've had on what they had their thing. And that's what they talked about. And it was their issue or their problem. And a lot of times, you know, after the conversation, it'll have me, you know, in a couple of different spaces. One is thankful, right? Because when you notice about what other people go through, you kind of be like, all right, well, thank you for not giving me that struggle.
Right.
Um, but then at the end of the day, you have to be thankful too because a person is decided to give you their story,
Right.
right? They decided to talk to you, and a lot of times, it's not easy for people to do. You know, the hardest thing for people to do is to tell people their business because people use it against them. Here on podcasts, you know, people are clickbait and they'll put out all kind of stuff on you just so they could get the views and all
Right.
that. So that's another thing that you got to be mindful of too. So for me, you know, I noticed that a lot of the conversations I have with people on here, they be so personal or they be so, you know, real that, you know, the algorithm ain't set up for me at all.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest.
I hear you. Oh my God. I get you because can I speak on that?
Yeah, of
Because
course.
I feel like we're so programmed to perform. And I'm so many people are like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. I'm going to post my content. It's going to be authentic. I'm not going to jazz anything up. Or, you always get an idea. And I'm sure some people try to like get you to do a different format. Maybe why don't you talk on this? Why don't you do this?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm called to do. I'm called to do what I'm doing now. And however long it takes for it to lift off the ground, it's going to take. But I'm not going to go a different direction because that's where everything is at. No, that's just not going to go
Nah.
with me.
Facts. No, that's the vibe because, you know, I say it on here. It's like, yo, if I'm not going to talk people business just so I could get clickbait, you know, it's always that moment where you could catch that right story and go viral. But my thing is that after that, can you sustain that viral moment, right?
Right.
Can you sustain that place where you can get into the conversation real quick and just touch on it because it's hot? And then after that, what happens, right? Because
Right.
I know a lot of people who went viral off of one video and then they've been chasing that same feeling that they felt from going viral. And it's like, nah, that's why I think a lot of people fall off from doing these platforms like us because of that. They don't have that instant gratification. You know, social
Mhm.
media got everybody in the microwave, right? You
Right.
get instant likes, you get instant whatever. And then, you know, next thing you know, you like, yo, my joint ain't popping. Like, wait, hold on. I got this many followers. I got this, that, and the third. Why my joint ain't popping? The next thing you know, you thinking, oh, this ain't I'm not supposed to do this. And no, you are.
Right.
But that's the road, that's the journey. Many people do not trust the journey. You know, the
Mm.
process is most important than it is the reward, right? Because um when money do come, by that time, then that mean that everybody outside of you is gonna recognize it. So then
Right.
now you gotta start ducking, dodging, and allowing those same people who you because you know that come with it. Like whenever they see your passion or they see that you are consistent, you know, people fall back, they lay in the cut. But when it's visible that you're successful, oh man, here they
Right.
come from everywhere trying to get a part or a piece or, you know, playing on your heartstrings to see if you will give. And so with you being a life coach and in that different perspective, how have you been able to take the balance of the things that people tell you and not internalize those things? Because, you know.
As a
Emotionally, I
guest,
know that could be draining. Yeah. Or
I mean,
like, do people come to you personally, or is just you coach them like on a platform?
oh no, people come to me personally. Honestly, I don't know. I'm built I mean, okay, so I'm built to take in a lot. But I have that moment where I'm just like, oh my God, I need to unload. And sometimes it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, okay, today I did not rest. Today I did not go outside and ground. Today I did not pray. But for some reason, I've always been told this, like, I have had a prophetic word a while back that my shoulders are like created to carry things. And I think it's because I'm a
Gotcha.
Capricorn. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh God.
That I just throw that out there. And
Alright,
it's not to toot my
alright.
own horn, but I do, but I hold space for people and I allow them to vent. But then there's times where I'm just like, okay, I need to take some time to just go just be by myself. See, I
Yeah.
love people and I can take the stories and I can take the venting and I can take all of that. But then there's times where I'm just like, okay, phone down. Me
Mm,
outside silence. Nothing, no one. Shh. I
right.
don't neglect that moment because I need that to recharge. If not, I'm gonna be wiped out.
Nah, I feel you. I'm with you on that because I have to do the same thing, and I think the gift that a lot of people share. Like, whenever we have this type of calling on our lives, is that it's meant for us to take so much, and then you've gone through so much. Like, you kind of think about everything that we've gone through up until this point, and it's really a lot. And it's a lot that I can't speak for everybody else, but I know for me, it probably is a lot more than the average person should have had to go through. Especially whenever we grow up, our first, I want to say 18 years, but for some of us, we was kind of pushed out the nest a little earlier than that. But in that whole little thing, it's always based on what somebody else is doing for us, or
Right.
what we, like you said earlier, our identity is wrapped around whatever the adults are in our lives up until that point. And once we start to figure out ourselves on our own, it come with a whole bunch of other stuff that we didn't have to deal with before, like bills and
Right.
responsibilities and deadlines and dates and all these different things that we didn't have to pay attention to before. So when it come down to that, then you got people who got anxiety. That's the one of the worst cop outs for me. And I'm not knocking anybody or down anybody who you know says that they have anxiety, but like, that's one of the biggest cop outs to me. And I'm saying that, like, yo, nah, that anxiety is not something that is just personal. That's for everybody that look like us. Depending on where you from, where you grew up, what your environment is, you got anxiety because you just because, like, not
Mm-hmm.
because you did anything. It's just because of where you are, what you went through, what your environment says. Everybody has that. So at the end of the day, we can't use that. And so many people use that as a means of a base of their personality. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and say that this is the reason why they do things because they have this, and it's like, no, you don't get that excuse. And I think for me, that helps me with that balance of being able to take in information, but also not really give people answers, but give them that portion. Like, yeah, yo, nah, that's no excuse. And
Right.
it comes off differently, but it should be a fact to everybody. No, it does, because we don't get to use. I can't use that excuse. Just like we talked about earlier with Carmelo Anthony, you can't use that you're black or you underprivileged or you're always threatening white people or this, that, and the third, so you can go out and stab somebody.
Right. There's a level of accountability that people need to start taking, especially at our big age where, we kind of know where our faults lie. We know where we're accountable for the things that we've done or the role that we played in our lives and situations that we find ourselves in. But yeah, so self-awareness and having accountability is a big thing. So I get what you're saying, like playing that victim role, it works for so long until it doesn't, until it's like, okay, now it's time to really, like, I cried about it. And I'm a big person of feeling it. Like, I tell my people, feel that. If you gotta curse and yell and do something, do it. But then there's a time where you gotta get back up and be like, okay, what can I do today? What decisions can I do today to change the trajectory of my life where these cycles are not repeating themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
My daughter actually has anxiety, and it's I know you get, I see you getting frustrated with it.
Who? Me? No, I'm not. I'm listening. No, I'm listening. No,
Anxiety is
I'm
real.
listening.
I
It
truly feel
is.
anxiety. I wouldn't say it's a cop out. I'm not saying anything against your what you just stated,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Facts.
I've seen my daughter like go through it, and I'm just like, but I tell her I get it, I get it, but you have to learn how to control your thoughts. You have to learn how to control your mind. You have to learn to control your emotions, or you're forever going to be like this, and you're never going to be able to do anything because the minute something happens, you're frantic and things are happening. No, you have to do the work too. So I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
definitely get that.
No, and I get it. So that's why I guess I preface it by saying, like, I don't judge people for the fact that they have that, because anxiety to me is just another fancy word for fear, right? And then when I think about all the things that we have to do in order to complete our vision, because I think everybody is born with a purpose.
Hmm.
Regardless of what their circumstances look like, they still was born with a purpose. Some people just don't ever get to, figure out what that purpose is. But in that, we have to always overcome our fears in order for us to do it. I remember, um, Steve Harvey had this quote that he said about the parachute. He was like, yo, you're not going to know if your parachute work if you don't jump. So either
Hmm.
way it go, that's the only way you're gonna know. Like, you can wear it, you can have it on your back, you can know that you got it, you safe and secure, but unless you jump, you ain't gonna know that it works or not.
Right.
And so that's the thing. When it comes down to anxiety, when it comes to me, like, I give it up for people who say that, yo, they have anxiety. I just say, okay, but that can't be why you're not doing such and such. It can't be,
Hmm.
right? Because technically, you're just saying that you're scared. And what is it? The outcome, or you're scared of doing it, or you're scared? Like, it's a reason, or it's a thing that makes you anxious about it. But it's
Right.
all of us are overthinkers. Like, yo, if you creative, you definitely are overthinker, because you want to make it right. You don't know if people gonna like it. You
Hmm.
don't know if it's a waste of time. You hear this, that, and the third. You know how much of the inner voice of your subconscious will pop up in your head when you're creative, and people that think it's God telling them not to do something.
Right.
But it's the fight or flight in them that is telling you. Our brains are wired to protect us. They're not wired for us to take chances. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? So that's the vibe. Like, taking a chance just by being creative in a space where we're doing podcasts, we're taking a chance. You know how many people say, yo, you know how many people doing this podcast? So ain't everybody not me. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So why would I allow that to be a reason? You know what? Nah, I ain't gonna do the podcast because they're right. It's a lot of people doing it. That's corny,
Right.
right? Because it's a lot of people eat, but everybody ain't obese. So it's like, what we doing out here? Everybody has their choice of what they feel like they're gonna do with whatever God gave them. And then there's some people who don't. They just
Right.
live in a cycle, right? They wash, rinse, and repeat the same cycle each and every day. They live for the weekend. And yeah, so I get you, right? Whenever we know people who deal with anxiety, it's that coaching though. It's that voice that is helping them to understand that, yo, you can do this. Like, I get it,
Right.
but you can do this. So I like that. Motivation is important. Motivation
And
is important.
definitely. And you mentioned something earlier when I was backstage, you were talking about believing in yourself. And that's a big thing. I think a lot of the times, like for me personally, I had to push through the programming that I wasn't enough. I had to push through the
Mm,
programming of shame. I had to push through the programming that my voice wasn't going to make a difference. And so every decision I made was me pushing back and reprogramming that subconscious thought process because I do paint as well. I do art, and
right.
so there was an opportunity to be a part of an art exhibit, and everything within me was like, no, they're not going to accept me. And I was freaking out because for some reason, when it comes to podcasting and coaching, I can do it easily. But when it comes to painting, poetry, and different aspects of creativity, I question myself. And but I'm like, no, I have to. I remember, I'm gonna share this story. I was for some reason, the bathroom was always like a personal, intimate moment. I was in the bathroom, And I was so I had just had a dream. I'm a big dreamer. I have a lot of dreams. I had a dream that I was going to sell a painting to a friend, and she wanted me. She wanted me to create a painting for her, and I was like, no, I can't do it. And so I woke up, and I woke up with fear. Like fear was all over me, and I was like, why am I feeling this? And so I went to the bathroom, and I was just like, what the heck is going on? And at this point, I was in my creativity mode. I have my seasons where I do creativity, then I do podcasting, blah, 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 whatever. And so I look in the mirror and I said, and I had to speak to my inner child. I said, I am going to show you that I'm going to show you that everything you dreamed of is possible. Watch. And
Right.
I just start crying. Like I'm bawling like a baby because I'm talking to my inner child. So
Right.
every time an opportunity came up, I'm like, this is for my inner child. This is for the little girl who wanted to create. This is for the
Dope.
little girl who wanted to do poetry but didn't have the opportunity
Right.
because my mom couldn't afford it. No one really pushed me. And so
Right.
when I submitted my poetry and my poetry got accepted, then I submitted my art got accepted. And I was like, oh my God. I was just like, it was like the little girl in me was rejoicing. And I was like, this is so
Right.
like, it was amazing. But the point of that was because I chose to believe myself. I chose to get past the fear, the anxiety. And
Right.
it was a really good moment. So I say that all to say is that believing in yourself has to be more powerful than that fear speaking in your ear, because it
Exactly.
will speak until you do nothing with your life.
Exactly. And you made a really good point, and I think that a lot of people that's what stops them, right? Is because for some reason people have told us that we can only be good at one thing at a time, right? They
Mm,
don't understand who we are as a people, right? We are creators, and in that you don't just create one thing. We do so many different facets of things, but we'll let our mind tell us that, oh, maybe we're doing too much, or maybe we shouldn't do that now, maybe we should do this. And then
mhm,
we get out, we put ourselves in a box, because programming, like you said earlier, people have told us, you can only be an expert at this, you can't do that, you shouldn't do, and then for so many of us, we like, yo, but I like to do all of these things.
mhm,
And then it's not that even that you like to do them, you can do them, right? And it comes easy for you to be able to balance it all, where another person will look at it and be like, yo, you doing too much. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool, because for them, time is not relative. I look at 24 hours in a day, right? And for me, sometimes inspiration sparks at 2, 3 in the morning. So
mhm,
I'm up, right? And I'm making it happen. Then, I don't fall back to sleep till about 5 and get right back up at 6 or 7. But I think in those moments that we get that inspiration, is I think that's the part where people, they fear, because they won't take that extra step because they think it's not them. Because I
right,
watched the Michael Jackson movie, and I remember, and I said this in a couple of shows. I remember in one scene where he was in the pool with his brothers, and he was saying, "Yo, whenever these ideas come to me, I gotta jump on it right then, because if not, I feel like he'll give it to Prince." And then
mhm,
whenever I thought about that, he broke that down later on in the movie, and he was saying, "Yeah, because creativity is something that God wants us to get. It's like a download. He gonna make sure that this get out. It's just that he may give it to you first. But if you
right,
don't do it, it's still gonna come. It's just gonna probably go to someone else. Now, do
mhm,
you want to be the person that accepts it, or do you want to be skipped? And I think that's another reality that we all gotta face too, is that inspiration don't have a time limit on it. It don't have alarm clock, right? Like when it hits you, it hits you.
right,
And it's not necessarily anything that you may do every day, like the podcast, yeah. But yo, when you are artist, right? A song may come out, like you, for poetry or painting or whatever that vibe is, you know what I mean? It'll come and it'll hit you. And for me, it's like steps, like whatever the next step is, that'll hit me at 3, 4 in the morning. Then I'm up, I'm creating,
mhm,
or whatever, or designing for my clothing line, like any of those other things. And like it come, and I'm that person that gets up. I feel like sometimes I thought in life, like how often I shared time with people who didn't get my vision.
Mhm.
And in that, I realized that you're only going to run across certain people in your life with, and I only mean this based on destiny. I don't mean this based on anything other than that don't have to do the same thing you do, but understanding enough that maybe they'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They might not be able to write a rhyme or write a poem or design a shirt, but they can make a cup of coffee, right?
Right.
Or they could roll a blunt if that's what you do. Or they could do it's something that a person can do, right? If they get your vision. Why? Because they share it. A lot of times, as a man, I realized that I tried to lead in a space where I wasn't meant to be the leader. I'm a
Mm.
leader, but I wasn't meant to lead this person.
Right.
Because sometimes people attach to your gift and your vision because they feel it, but not necessarily they can't see it. They could
Mhm.
feel that energy from you that you are somebody, but they can't see it because it doesn't resonate with them. You know. So yeah, I realized that, and that caused me to take a couple of setbacks in life where I felt like not that I could blame them, but I blame the time that I allowed to go by because, like I said, 24 hours is all we get. Past is gone, present ain't here yet. It's only, future, sorry, ain't here yet. It's only the present that we get,
Right.
right? So that's the gift, right? The present is the gift, right? And that's a double entendre, but it's true, right? Like the present is the gift. So
Yes.
that's the part that I feel like is a piece of the emotional part that we got to overcome. Is who we choose to share our space and time with when we're creating.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
What do
that's
you think
definitely
about that?
important. I mean, I think it's definitely important because you want to surround yourself around people who get you, right? Some people who encourage you and some people who will push you to do it, even if their means of doing it is limited. Um, because
Hmm.
I mean, being on the other side of the spectrum, I had I was connected to somebody who I knew was gifted, but I didn't have the capacity within me to support her the way she needed it. And so that became a friction. And so just understanding that people that are around you, they may believe in you, they may, see the vision, they may see the gifting, but sometimes they don't have the capacity to help you lift things up and build that with you. And so just being okay with that, you know what I mean? Because everybody is in their own journey in life. And I mean, I've been for a while now, I've been doing it by myself. Like anything that I've built, I mean, I've connected with a lot of different people. Like I connected with Williams Media Management, who connected me to Roku. So my show was on Roku for a while. My mentor DT at the radio station, he's like always connecting me. He's the one that connected me to the station. It was like, hey, they have an opportunity. I think you should take it. So there's people like that, right? That can help you connect you and bring you to different levels. But then you have other people who just don't have the capacity. Their only capacity is to just be there and say, yeah, you got this, do this and that. But for them to actually put a hand in it, um, it's a little limited. And honestly, I'm gonna talk about this. Can I talk about this? Because I like to build a foundation that is built on something that I've done. I've seen
Mm.
many times where people try to look for help, and when they get the help leaves. There's many times that I wanted to do projects and people had left and they couldn't fulfill the project, and that left me with my vision that never came to pass because I was relying on someone else.
Gotcha.
And
Mm.
that is the most disappointing thing when you have like a creator. You said, what do you say? We don't wait, we create.
Right.
That's your logo, right? So I've always been this person, like I like to do things together. And so I realized that people just don't have the capacity sometimes. Life happens, things are happening for them. Everybody's going through something. So I'm just like, I can no longer wait for someone to be ready. I'm going to do it. And when it launches, if they come, they come. If not, then the right people will align. But when I'm
Right.
when I'm called to like build something, like right now, I want to build. There's a lot of things that I want to do, but it's like, do I partner with someone and then something happens with this partner, or do I build it and then partner with someone? You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
No, do. Nah, it makes
Because
a
it's
lot of
just,
sense.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, it make a lot of sense. I'm with you. And I think that's why I made the whole thing about we don't wait, we create, is because I am exactly like you. I've been. So here's the thing: it's like a double-edged sword with that, right? Because you get a label of selfishness whenever you do that, but then you also get the but you also have to be a person that knows who you are, right? Because a person calling you a name does not necessarily mean that's who you are. That's just
Mhm.
what their version or their perspective is. It has nothing to do with how you feel about yourself. And I had to learn that, right? How I feel about me is more important than how others feel about me. So waiting on another person to get something done is not it for me. It's never has been. So I think that's why, I do all this stuff is because I'm not waiting. I think what you said was important. There, all right. So to make up the body, right? We think about it like all these things are so important, our legs or whatever, but you miss a big toe. You'll be off balance, right? Miss a
Right.
toe, right? Like, no, it's not as big as your leg or whatever, but miss a toe, you're off balance. So even the person that could just be there and just give you those words of encouragement, that is so important as well, too, because a creative don't need a lot because
Mhm.
whatever that little engine that could that we got into, that we got in us, it's gonna go. It's
Right.
going. I think I can. I think I can. It's gonna go regardless. It's just that every now and then, you'll be put in a position where you got to learn a lesson. And I know God uses the people closest to us to teach us that lesson. Now, what is it that we're supposed to get from this thing that we? And then we got to, like you said earlier, take accountability for the choices that we made because whoever is allowed there, we allow them,
Right.
right? Right. So it's not like they forced themselves in this square or in our circle, so to speak. So it's up to us to be like, yo, take accountability. I bet. So, all right. So what was I supposed to learn from this? But that's
Mhm.
not the God. That's not the vibe. People are more, like you said earlier, the victim mentality is more, why did they do this to me? Why my
Mhm.
sister or why my brother or why my cousin or why my da-da-da-da-da-da-da, didn't or whatever, versus it being, I bet. So all right. So, all right. If this person to do it, then I mean that person to do it. Let me learn. All right. Let me figure out where I need to give my power to. Right. Because, like you
Right.
said earlier, whenever we got a vision and we give somebody else and then they fall off, we gave them our power. Right. We say, yo, this is something. And then we see more in people than they see in us. That's another thing, too, about being creative. You can always see
Mm.
the potential in other people when they can't see it in themselves, right? And then
Yes.
when you tell them, like, yo, you know what, I feel like XYZ about you, word. I think you can, and they be like, all right, all right, all right. But if they don't feel it in themselves, want. They
That's
in and
it.
they out, right? And then now your relationship with that person is different. But it was supposed to be because, yo, there are people who only supposed to be in a chapter in your life. They're not supposed to be in the story to the
Mhm.
end, right? So, what do you think about that part? Because I do get a little kickback from that because I am one of those people who I'll let a person go, right? And I mean, I could love and like people from afar, right? I've developed that ability, but I will let them go, and I think I've had to learn that over the life because I'm a Sagittarius, so we stay a little longer than we should in a lot of situations, right?
Mhm.
It's a part of us because it's the fear of failure. We don't like to fail at stuff.
Right.
And sometimes those things can make you feel like a failure. But now I've learned that, oh yeah, you just ain't supposed to, or they not, or this ain't supposed to. All right, that. And so then now you get called selfish because you learned that. But
Right.
your peace is important. Like, man,
It
you know,
is.
it's very important your piece, yo. Or do you agree with that part? I mean, like, how important is your piece to you? I know you ground and you do all these things because I follow you and I get it. And, I do the same thing. So, like-minded people are always going to find their way to each other. But what I'm saying to you, outside of those things, how important? I mean, because I think people should know this too about taking time for yourself because people are going to call you selfish, right? So,
Right.
how important is that to you?
Peace.
Yeah, peace. You
Peace
know,
is
peace.
everything. Peace is my sword. Like peace. I need peace. I can't because I need a regulated nervous system. If I feel like I can't be in chaos for too long. I just can't. If I feel like someone is pulling on my energy or pulling on, challenge, I don't mind a challenge. I don't mind a challenge. But when it comes to destroy and destruct anything that I'm doing, then that boundary needs to be set. Like for
Facts.
sure. For sure. So
Facts.
peace is definitely something that a lot of us need. And I think sometimes we do stay too long. We do put up too much with too much because for the name of love. But I think often we do that and we lose ourselves. Like, sometimes we have to ask, do we love ourselves more or do we love this person more? And
Mm,
and if we love ourselves more, then we're choosing ourselves. That means we're choosing peace for ourselves. And that line has to be drawn despite the cost of it, despite the pain, despite anything that may take place. But without our peace, we're never going to be able to connect to ourselves. We're never going to be able to connect with God. And you know what I'm saying? So I feel like peace
yeah.
is something that we definitely need. I mean, thank God I've learned discernment. I've learned intuition. I've like because I've been on this journey, and I'm not gonna say like I know everything, but or my intuition is always right. But 9 times out of 10, when I feel something is off, I'm right. And sometimes I still give it the benefit of the doubt, and I'm like, I should have just listened to myself.
Right.
You
Yeah. Me
know,
too.
we just be knowing, and still yet we're like, let's just give it a shot anyways. And it's like, and those things just teach you, okay, I should have listened to myself. Everything is a
Facts.
lesson. So regardless if we make a decision and the decision was wrong, now we know, okay, this time next time I won't question my intuition. I won't question the things that I was feeling at that time. So yeah, I'm
Right.
definitely um an advocate of peace.
Facts. Yeah, that's important. I think that's very important for everyone to find the means of connecting back to nature too. Because I think that's one of the things that keeps a lot of people in a state of confusion and stuff like that is because they forget that, the nature around us doesn't rely on the things that we rely on each and every day in order for us to feel like we will make it from one day to the other. God
Right.
provides everything for nature, but very seldom are we're not connected to it. Very few people, or it's not really many people that I know personally that grounds, right, who actually do that part, like purposely. Not just walking to the car barefooted, but I'm talking about a person who actually purposely want the ground, or a person who actually meditates, or it's so many different things, or just going outside and just paying attention to how the birds talk to each other, or just looking at
Right.
how the trees move based on the wind, or just anything, watching the flight patterns of different birds and stuff like that. It's just so many different aspects of life that'll give you that inspiration to move forward if we paid attention to what is going on outside of us. And that's one thing I think a lot of times that we're missing as a people, is that we're disconnected from nature. And if we were
Yes.
to get back to that, I think we can get back to being able to control our emotions a whole lot better, because then we understand that whole thing about, what you can control, but what you can't, you got to get that up, and you got to
Right.
give that up to something greater than so that be the part about it that I think a lot of people miss, is the disconnection from nature, right?
Yes. I
So
love
look,
nature. Okay, God, I'm
mm,
sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead. Hey,
Like I'm sorry.
go
I
ahead, man.
truly love nature. I feel like we are like that is my sanctuary. I promise you. Like people are like, "Why are you always going outside?" And I'm just like, just something about the sun when it hits my skin. There is just something about sitting next to a tree and feeling the breeze. Don't make me start going into poetry because I will. Okay.
Right, 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 right.
And the water, oh my God, the water, the
Water,
ocean, when
yeah,
the waves hit, I'm just like, I'm at home. I can stay within the water for hours. I could just stay there. It really does bring a sense of peace. And I think a lot of females, we know this, but when it comes to men, it's a little like I'm like, when's the last time you frolicked, Rashad? When was the last time you frolicked in the garden? Tell me.
No, no, no. I'm outside every day. That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Everything you're saying is a part of me, right? Water. I love water. Like I love being around it. I even meditate in water. But what I think is it's not I can't speak for all men, right? But I can
Mhm.
say this with us, it's a little more private because there really is not a question that people ask. Like, for example, whenever you meet a person and whenever let's just say in the sense of getting to know someone, what I realize and a lot of times when you get to know people, a lot of times women, they don't, that's not what they want to know. They don't figure out that part of the man, right? They're looking for the answers that will make them comfortable with whatever decision that they already felt when they first met you. So a lot of times they say that women, when they first meet you, they could tell whether they want to intimate or if they want to get to know you any better. Like they could tell that from off top, right? Whenever they meet you. So it seems like a lot of times whenever it comes to that dynamic, they don't learn you in that way, right?
Mm.
It's not part of the dating questions more
Mm.
than it is about what you do, where you live, how is this, what's your relationship with this, that, and the third. They very seldom, and then they'll ask you about the relationship with God, right? But then it's prefaced by how often you go to church when that's not a relationship with God, it's a relationship with religion. But a
Yes.
person who can connect with nature and understands God's presence in all things created, then they will understand that connection, but they don't ask that question. So a lot of
Mhm.
times that's where it gets missed, right? And then for men, right? I would say this in any event that a woman meets a man, like you're gonna catch him doing this. If you don't catch him doing these things, and what I mean by catch is if you're inquisitive, if a person is in your presence and then for a certain amount of time they're outside, you'll catch him if you're paying attention to whoever that person is. And if it's really in them, they'll be doing it without you having to know that they're going to do it. They're not going to announce it. Hey, I'm about to go outside and ground. Like that's not, they've been doing that before. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this
Right.
ain't that thing unless they figure this out while they're with a person and they try to get that person to join them. Like, yo, maybe we should XYZ. But if it
Mhm.
ain't that, you'll catch it. So I think with men, that's the thing. Those things are never asked. Like, nobody's ever asked me, do you ground? At all.
That's a good one,
Never.
ladies. We need to start. Listen, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But we need to start asking these men if they ground, do they frolic?
Or, another thing that I think a lot of women should ask men when it comes down to it, um, you got if his position is to lead, you got to find out where he's going, and I think those conversations are missed a lot. Right,
Mm,
people are more looking for the compatibility in a person, whether they can just get by, but is there a certain way that this man is going? Because if he's going that way, then seeing if it aligns with your life. And I think that is the most important part about the connection between men and women is direction.
mm,
You gotta know where you're going because every day is not gonna be a good day. Every day is not gonna
right,
be, and it's not gonna be between you two. Sometimes outside things separately from y'all will affect your day. And all other kind of stuff will come in the way. But as you're with a person, friendship should be the strongest connection y'all have because there's many people that we love, but we don't like them. And
right.
I say that all the time. I'd rather be around somebody that likes me. I appreciate you love me, but I want you to like me because people do more things for people they like than they love. And that's a
Mm,
simple fact. You know what I'm saying? And learning that, especially as a man, like once you learn that, because it's kind of a little strike on your ego and pride, right? Because we want to be able to present ourselves in a way where that is not the case. But in so often we got to realize that that is the case because we can't do everything.
right, right, right.
So you got to be able to not have to try to live that image like you Superman. You got to be able to say, "Yo, nah, I'm picked you or I'm with you because I can't do everything." Right? This is
Yes.
the way I'm going though. You want to go this way with me, or is this not your vibe? Because if that's not your vibe, then don't let's not worry about the boxes that I checked off the list. Let's worry about if the direction is the way you want to go because this is part of what's going to happen. It's like the gym. It's like that's a lifestyle. That's not because the gym ain't a quick fix. to
No.
your weight or whatever. It's not a quick fix. It's a lifestyle. So you got to be consistent with it, right?
Right.
So that's the things that women miss. Women miss when it comes to men. You got to find out what their consistencies are, and then see if that's something that you can align with. Because once you understand that part, your superpower, I tell women all this time, your superpower is cooperation. Your superpower is not sex. Your superpower is not, whether you cook or not, because he should be eating before he met you, right? So
Right.
it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's like a bonus. Thank you, because you could put an egg together. I love that. You put the cheese in the eggs too. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the vibe. The vibe is you gotta understand, like, where is he going?
Right.
Where he want to go, and see. They don't do that. They won't, and that's the thing. We gotta talk to the women and tell them if they whatever type of man they looking for, you gotta find out what direction he going. If he's already where he say he gonna be, then you might have to realize that what you settling for.
Right.
Because it shouldn't be a man that's not reaching to learn more. So that's something that I guess y'all got to discern. But if he's not willing to continue to learn more, and it's not about attaining more, because it should be assets over liabilities anyway, right? And two people shouldn't have. That's another thing we might be going over, but that whole taking care of a person, like, that's weird to me, right? Like, or the whole 50-50 and I pay 100. That's weird to me, right? Because the goal should be attaining assets to pay for your lifestyle. Like, it should not be a person working to obtain another person's living condition. Like, we should be on the same page. Like, assets, how many cars we got? Then we need to have that many assets paying for the car. Like, what kind of house we want to live in? Then the assets that we have outside of that should pay for the house. It should not be that part of a relationship that deters. So many people, relationships are over because of finances, and it's weird. It's two of y'all.
Right.
Money. What are we doing? Like, that's weird. Like, look. All right. So we about to go over. So I don't want to go too far. See, I told you we weren't gonna have an issue. I told you that. We're gonna have to bring you back. No, we're gonna save it for your platform.
Yes.
All right. So look, before we get out of here, all of y'all that's watching, all of y'all that watch tonight, thank y'all so much, and thank y'all for all the comments. So this is what I want to do.
Thank you.
Before we get out of here, Jay, I want you to tell them, for anybody that want to get in contact with you, that may want to get some of your coaching advice or just want to know what you got going on. Any artists out there, of course, I'll share them with you. It's a bunch of them that I know I work with that, I would love to send your way. And so tell the people any type of way that they need to get at you for what you do.
So you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, especially YouTube. I'm trying to get my YouTube up. All Things Good. I'm not really on TikTok with my podcast right now. It's too many platforms to maintain. I don't know how you're doing with that, but I got multiple things. So anyways, the podcast, and then my coaching is being built up right now, the page. So just follow me. You can follow me on Instagram, JOVANNA_SURILLO. You can follow the radio show at So Before Sunrise on Instagram, as well as Facebook, or you can go to WMNF.org. Go to how to listen, and just go to my page. You know what? Just go to my page.
There you go.
Go to my page. There's a link tree there, and there's all the buttons there. So whatever you want to do, just do that.
Facts. There you go. I like that. So look, for all y'all that's watching, y'all know the vibe, man. Make sure y'all check her out. And if there's something that you would definitely like to talk to her about, don't be afraid to reach out. And just, don't be afraid to support, right? If you see her come across, like, share, comment, it's free, y'all. You know what I mean?
Right.
So thank y'all for that. Outside of that, y'all know the vibe. Each and every week, man, I'm here and I'm talking to the world's most interesting people, and that's going to continue to roll. So stay tuned, stay locked, and be with me next week. But until then, so JOVANNA, don't go nowhere. After my outro, I'm going to talk to you behind stage. But everybody else, y'all know it. I say this each and every week. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So until next week, y'all, peace.
Let's roll. Cold pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah. She so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, we so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah.